As clinicians, we all know that we have a variety of methods how to restore implants, starting from screw retained crowns, cement retained crowns, or cement screw retained crowns. And it is obvious that cement retained restorations is still the most popular way to restore implants in clinical practice. And it's no wonder why, because simple fabrications, usually lower costs and aesthetics makes this choice of clinicians true. However, as every method has its disadvantages, and one of the disadvantages of cemented restorations is cement-related perimplantitis. Like in this case, you see that after cementation, a quick perimplantitis occurred, and after flat elevation, we have a big piece of cement which caused bone loss. And that's nothing new, because rapid, quick perimplantitis is known already for many years. But what about this case? When we have good integrated implants, cemented restorations, however, after 3 or 4 years, we have a problem. When we evaluate flap, I find a piece of cement, but it's too late because this implant is lost. And this is a remarkable paper by Dr. Wilson, which appeared a few years ago, which showed the direct association between cement and the late perimplantitis development. Because in this study, 34 implants out of 42, which had symptoms of perimplantitis, crestal bone loss, had cement retained in the sulcus. So it means 80%, that's a big number. And maybe the reason for that is that these still valid recommendations allows clinicians to place gingival margins 1 or 2 or even more millimeters under the gingiva. Last year in Glasgow we presented a laboratory study which we made different abutments, different height of abutments, and the results of our study showed that total removal of cement is possible only when the margin is visible. The deeper the gingivally, the more detected cement is left after the cleaning, and the greatest amount was exactly at the level of existing recommendations. However, you might say that this is just a laboratory study, and that's true. It never mimics the real clinical situation. And in the literature, you will not find any clinical study which addresses that topic. So we made a clinical study and to see if this is true in real clinical practice. And so prospective clinical study was initiated. Our aims were to evaluate clinical amount of cement after cleaning of implant restorations, not only on the restorations but also in the perimplant tissues, and to find out the reliability of radiographic examinations of after cementation. Because all we do, we always after cementing make an X-ray and see is it okay. So sample size was 25 patients from that age. As you can see, 35 implants were installed, and 20 lower, 15 in the upper jaw, and of various diameters. And the main reason was that we decided to restore them in cement screw-retained crown with such a way. Let me a little bit remind you what is cement screw-retained restoration. It's when we have abutment and a technician makes a crown with a occlusal opening. It cements in the laboratory, and then we can screw it down in the mouth. So it's just a restoration which has something from cement and something from screw-retained. And also you can give it in the other way. You can cement it in the mouth and then unscrew to clean the cement and see. This is the reason why this type of restoration was chosen for our study. We used standard abutments, and the reason for that was that they had predetermined abutment shoulder location, which was not changed. In that case, we knew the exact height of our margin under the gingiva. The next step was the evaluation of deepness of implant. We did it in 4 places. So like this implant from one place, side is 1 millimeter below, here is equally and the proximal different heights, different depths of implant placement. So we made 35 implants and measured 4 surfaces, so in total it was 140 surfaces, and made 4 groups of it. One group supragingivally or equally with gingiva, and 1, 2, 3 millimeters below gingival level. Later, the cementation was done. Only before cementing, we closed the gap of the restoration, not to make a venting for cement. Abutment was secured, isolated. For our study, we used glass modified resin cement. It was thinly applied on the surface of the crown, and it was cemented. Then cement was removed, like in a way we every time we do in our clinical practice, and after that make an X-ray to see if it's all gone, if we removed all cement. And if there was cement visible, we clearly again clean it, then make an X-ray, and then only when the X-ray did not show anything, in that case only we already thought that the cement is clean. After that, the crown was removed. We took out composite resin, and in that case we were able to unscrew the crown and take it for evaluation. After that, we made a picture of implant in order to evaluate later the amount of cement which was left in the tissues. The crowns were installed in a special device with standardized position, and we made photos of all 4 sides of the crown. After that, everything data was analyzed with Photoshop, and we calculated the relationship between all the surface of the crown with abutment and only then the surface of the cement, which was uncleaned. The similar way was done with peri-implant tissues. Again, we divided into four positions, the total surface and only the surface of the crown. Statistical analysis was performed, and these are the results. The excess of amount of cement decreased significantly when the margin decreased on the crown, and the same in the tissues, meaning that with each millimeter we had more additional unclean cement on the restorations which were removed. The same was, part of the cement was left in the tissues. And then we start to compare group by group. So on the crown, on the restorations, it was, with each group was significant difference. In the tissues, it was a little bit different, only it was significant between the first and the second group. Radiographic results give us a very valuable information. We all know that just like in this case, we are not able to see in the X-ray the buccal and lingual side. As you can see, these are the X-rays, and these are the real clinical situation, and we don't see that cement which was left. Interestingly, we're able to see, of course, medial distal sides, but radiograph did not show remnants of cement, 94 cases medially and 86 cases distant. So why that happened? What discussion could we raise? Why after cleaning of cement we found that amount of cement in the tissues and on the restoration? Of course, the deep position of the margin. Indeed, it's a little bit different between teeth, because peri-implant tissues probably are not so resistant to cement, and during the cementation we can push it further. Properties of cementic agent, of course, it's very important. Already in 1997, Agar et al. Found that if cement has a resin component, it's very, very difficult to remove. It appears that resin cement and glass ionomer modified with resin may be too dangerous to cemented crowns of restorations on crowns. Narrow standard abutments, of course it is obvious, because it creates a big undercut, like in this case, if we place standard abutment here, and after that we place a crown on it, so we see how big is undercut, and it's no way we can clean cement over there. And another interesting, very interesting thing, that X-ray does not show us anything. And there is a very interesting paper by Wadhava et al. Which showed that the cement must be big enough to detect it on the X-ray. It means it must have at least 1 millimeter. Just like in this case, you can see There is no way you can see a cement here, only bone loss, but after removal restoration you see a big amount of cement. So what were conclusions of our study? The deeper position of the margin, the great amount of the detected cement was discovered in the tissues and on the crowns. And also, Delton radiographs should not be considered as a reliable method for cement excess evaluation. What could that bring? What clinical implications we can have? So, of course, cementing on standard abutments, on narrow standard abutments, must be restricted in the mouth, or should be done very carefully. Individual abutments with visible margins should be selected for cementation, and of course, there is a choice to just screw retain restoration and avoid all other problems which may be with cemented restorations. Thank you very much for your kind attention.
So, are there any questions or comments from the audience? I have personally one, but I hope there's someone else from the floor. Okay, does not seems like. Don't you think that these results that you're presenting, it's a very well conducted and very well presented study, are related to the kind of cement that you have used?
Yeah, and I mentioned it in my discussion, because resin modified, glass ionomer resin modified with the resin, in my opinion, it's too sticky cement to use that with implant restorations. But a recent review of, let's say, US schools, 70% of dental schools in the United States of America propose this cement for implant restorations. So, of course, the properties of the cement are very important. So this is why I mentioned it in the discussion. It might be to that.
So, since we are proud to be European, I would recommend that you run this study again with comparing different kind of cement, because this is very interesting clinical data.
You're reading my thoughts. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Very well done.
So, now it's time from a colleague